Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Dr. Cammie and Karen Go Keto, where Cammie and I are transitioning from a standard American diet to a ketogenic diet. And now we are transitioning into a carnivore diet for the time being. And we have had some really good success. I think if you see our Sunday catwalks, you see we're doing really well. And Cammie is very excited about sharing today. So I'm just going to hand the camera over to her and say, go for it.
Yay. All right. Hi, everybody. I'm just very happy to say that I think I'm starting some real ketosis. And so I've been eating carnivore. It's been since the 24th of January. So I think today's like day 18. So we're heading toward 3 weeks of doing it uh, very, since, you know, very acutely and very diligently with staying strict carnivore. And so I am still eating dairy. I'm having cream in my coffee. I'm working on getting rid of that. And I am eating some cheese. I'm eating a lot of beef and eating some seafood and eggs and bacon and every once in a while some other things. Some chicken. But I just wanted to report that for every other day so far on my vacation that I've been on in San Antonio eating carnivore, my ketones were like zero point 0.4, then they were 1.2, then they were 0.4, then they were 0.9, and then after 0.9 yesterday, they were 1.0, and today they were only 0.6. But I know that's because I didn't have heavy cream for my coffee and I was drinking half and half. And I used actually a little bit of regular milk this morning. And yesterday I had a chicken dish from a restaurant that had some tomato sauce in it. So I knew that was going to throw me off. But I just wanted to report that I'm really happy that when I'm eating my ketones are doing what I think they would do when I'm eating the foods that I'm eating. So I'm really happy about that because I'm hoping the next thing that happens that starts up is some weight loss. And that hasn't happened for me yet, but it's early, right? I have to be patient. And that's one of my defects of character is impatience. And I shouldn't call it that. I should just say one of my traits is that I'm very impatient.
Well, and part of that, I mean, you've always been impatient, pretty much every area of your life. It's not just this transition to carnivore.
Exactly.
And I think, though, because you're very goal oriented, I think that that's what makes it harder for you in this case, because, you don't struggle for a couple of weeks and then you kind of struggle for a week and then you've been binging. Usually after the three, I don't think that you've gone 3 weeks without binging for a long time, maybe ever.
No, I've been able to go.
27 days or
Yeah,
33 days or something. Yeah, I
yeah.
think it was over a month at one point.
One time
But
I was over a month and one time I was over 62 days. This was quite a few years ago. And I was very much white knuckling it. Yeah.
yeah, and you don't feel like that now.
No, this feels like a lifestyle for me. This feels like a bigger why. And this also feels like, hey, it kind of doesn't really matter what my ketones are doing because I'm going to continue to eat this diet. But they're starting to fall into place with what I think they would have been.
Right. So the things that you can measure they're showing up the way that you expected and anticipated. So you're hopeful that everything else will fall into place that way too. That is to say, the weight loss will come. And
And the
I
fatty liver will start to go away, my enlarged fatty liver, and my insulin resistant levels will start to come down. Some of those markers will improve also.
and I
Potentially get rid of my blood pressure, my elevated blood pressure, which I've had since 2001 when my last baby was born.
I've just watched somebody the other day and they said that you're not going to easily be in ketosis until that liver is healed. It's all run, because it's that insulin and that's the pancreas and the liver work together in that, right? The liver sends the signal to the pancreas to release the insulin. And so I think that's how it works.
Well, glucose also sends a message from the GI tract, right?
Yeah. So you've gone far though, because if this is day 18,
Yes,
if you look at your other past binges in the last, because your binges are a lot further apart. They're not every 4 days,
correct.
right? You're talking about now, and there was a while, but I would say really in the last year, we've talked about this, that window is lengthening, the window between binges.
Correct.
And I think that you've made some major shifts just as far as your brain feels, as far as your thoughts are about food and about binging. If you want to, do you want to share some of that?
Um, like, I don't know what are you referring to?
Well, like how you were in the store and just, you don't eat those foods.
Yes, it's more of a really big shift in my mindset and the languages that I'm using with the thoughts that I'm having in my head. And the other day when I was at a store, I saw people with a bunch of fruit that I'm not eating anymore that are long and yellow. I decided, part of me originally, the first thought was, I don't get to eat that food anymore. But then right away, immediately came a thought like, oh, the last time I ate that food, it was brutal on me and it was difficult and it was hard to digest and it made me crave sugar really bad. And I went on a huge binge and then I ended up with shame and guilt. And so following it all the way through, I just realized, oh, that's not something that I do. And I didn't have a sadness about it. I didn't have a loss. I didn't have a grieving over it, which is what used to happen before. I just said, oh, okay, I don't do that anymore. This is what's better for me right now at this time. And that was that.
And
And it was wonderful.
And maybe part of your brain is saying, like, maybe it's a subconscious thing going on where your brain is embracing not having that shame and guilt.
And having energy and having focus. And another good example is on this trip, when I came here to San Antonio, I told my medical advisor from medical school that I've known for like how many years, since 91? No, since before that, since 87, probably 86, because I interviewed with him then. Dr. Laduena, I was supposed to call him when I got into town, and I totally forgot because I was busy with my girlfriends and we were like at this spa vacation place and we were just having a good old time. And by the time I remembered, I called him last night and he did not have time to get together with me today because I leave tomorrow. So I even said out loud to my friend, I said, oh, I'm a total loser. I forgot to call this guy. And she said, well, no, you just forgot to call this guy. And it made, and so I still have some of that vocabulary in my mind that comes out about, my lack of self-worth and self-love. And it turned out that it was okay with him. I had actually seen him a month ago when he came into San Diego for a conference and we went out. And that was the day that I showed you that room full of meat at,
Yeah.
at that restaurant. I can't remember the name, Mickey and somebody, but it was that room full of big meat. That was so fun. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway, I'm changing the way that so I didn't want to eat over that. I didn't want to binge over it. I didn't feel it. I just thought, oh, okay, whatever. I should have done that and I didn't, but whatever. And it just came right off my shoulders and I didn't go beat myself up. I didn't stick it over in the guilt and shame pile that starts to build up until I binge over it. I just left it alone and that was that. Next time I'll do better and move on. And it was a wonderful feeling.
And what about the melon?
This morning I was cutting up cantaloupe for my girlfriend who I'm with, and it
Not
was
a carnivore.
not a carnivore at this time, but she's moving in the right direction. She's doing great. She's lost 15 pounds. She's moving in the right direction. She's just pre-keto. She's at the beginning of paying attention to, the beginnings of sugar and flour and paying attention to that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was cutting up cantaloupe that was very ripe and smelled very good. And I realized that it would probably taste good. And so I went to put a piece in my mouth and I stopped myself and I just said, wait, this is not what I'm up to. And I just kept going on and I didn't think twice about it. So it's just wonderful to have these things happen that, are successes or potential failures that I'm just saying, hey, no, that's not what I'm up to. And that's showing me that my why is big enough now because we were working on that why. So maybe in our next video, we could, brush up on that a little.
Just want to point out that that's a huge success for you, Cammie, the melon, because I can't tell you how many times you've called me telling me you've binged or you've eaten off plan, and it starts with you just chopping fruit for a Super Bowl party or something like that, and you have it, and you're like, oh, that smells really good. It smells sweet. It looks, it looks good. It's going to taste good. And you do put it in your mouth. And I always still say, you can still spit it out. You can chew it up and you can still spit it out. I wouldn't go further than that because I think once you swallow it, let it stay down there and learn the lesson from that, because I don't want anybody to get any other ideas that, we're encouraging people to not have, we don't want anybody to have an eating disorder other than what they've already got. We don't want to encourage the eating disorders.
No, we're trying to cure them.
Yeah, but I would say, although we are not medical professionals in the sense that we are curing people through this channel, this is just for educational purposes, but it's a big win. So if anybody has a win where you throw something away and you don't go back to the garbage to get it, even though it's perfectly fine because it's still completely wrapped up, it's a big win because it changed behavior, and there's a lot of moving pieces to make that changed behavior a new neural pathway.
Yes. So share those with us. We want to hear that.
Thank you so much. And by the way, everybody, I was interviewed by Dave Mack, who's a wonderful person. It was a great interview. He posted it on his channel. No carb life.
No carb life, I think. We'll put it in that link.
Yeah, I always search it by Dave Mack, and we'll put a link to it in the description down below if you want to see it. So thanks, everybody.
Dave Mac.
Right.
And Karen did a great job. You got to check it out. It was wonderful. And I'm going to be next with them sometime next week.
Yeah. And by the way, Dave Mack is the guy, he's from Australia and he lives in Japan. So if you've ever watched him, he does great interviews, and every single interview starts with, so Karen, what brought you to the carnivore diet? Or what brought you to carnivore? All right, everybody. Have a great night.
Care. Bye.